So today we have people from Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines being the main bulk of the audience today. We also have people from other countries like Vietnam and so forth. All right, so mainly Asian countries. And I'm glad that you guys have felt it worthwhile to come and join us. Okay, and I think it's good. We all learn from one another. Okay. Welcome, Geraldine, Carrie. Agon, welcome. Okay. Okay. Let me officially welcome everybody. Okay. This is Singapore time, 8 o'clock, and we are based in Singapore, so we follow Singapore time. And together with me, you see on screen is Cindy. Cindy is going to be the trainer for today. And my name is Paul, and I'm from Origo. And some of you have seen in workshops because Origo runs physical workshops. And so some of you have appeared in our workshops, but some of you are new to me because you're from overseas. You're from Philippines, you're from Indonesia, Vietnam, and so forth. So you're new to me, so we welcome you as well. Okay, now altogether we have 51 people, I think, and we are expecting close to 100. So let's see how it turns out to be. But for those that have come early, thank you very much for coming early, because I know that your time is precious. And also thank you for being on time for all of you. Okay. I think what we will do is this, that I'll honor everybody's time, and I will just start by sharing my screen to start the session. Okay. Now, okay. So today we are gathered here because we want to listen to a topic called Simple Strategies, Big Impact, particularly for supporting the social coping of kids with autism. All right. This seminar, of course, is brought to you by Origo, and Origo has been in the training circle for 10 years, and there are interesting new things coming up. So I'll talk about it later. Okay.
Hi all.
Hi.
Yeah. So I will be sharing today on some of the difficulties about people with ASD in the social setting. And after that, I will share some strategies. Okay, so okay. So first of all, I would like to talk about the common difficulties first, about what children with ASD may face in the social setting. But just to highlight, I have seen the profile of some of like the participants, the children that you support. Okay, I see like it's a wide range from below 7 to late teens. All right, so the context here that I'm talking about is more between like 7 years old, primary and secondary school profile. Okay, 7 to 16. But the strategies may still apply. The difficulties may still apply for the younger ones and the older ones, but maybe have to do some tweaks. All right, so it may not be you may not be able to use the whole thing, okay, for the much younger profile and the older profile. Later, I can share with you how to tweak it around, right? So and also the strategies I'm sharing here are mainly for those who can access mainstream curriculum, all right? Because the strategies that I'll be sharing today will be using quite a lot of word level, like the child need to read word. But again, those profile who may have difficulty reading words, like again, the younger ones or those in special school, later I can share with you some alternative on what you can do. Yeah. So first of all, let's look at the common difficulties. Okay. I pick out some core ones. This may not be all. Okay. May not be all of the difficulties that children with ASD may have in social setting. I actually highlighted some of these. First of all, people with ASD, I believe many of you may know they have difficulties in perspective taking. Yeah, so perspective taking means, to put it simply, is mainly means like understanding what others think and what others feel. Okay, so for example, many times you can see people with ASD, children with ASD getting quite upset or quite anxious about what people say, even if you see that it seems to be quite trivial. Okay, because why? Because sometimes they may not understand what people mean. So for example, like sometimes when they do work and they feel like they did a mistake, they did something wrong, and sometimes they get very anxious because they thought that the teacher will be very upset with them about making mistake. Yeah, and sometimes so then sometimes the anxiety may grow too much that they may even sometimes avoid doing work, okay? Because doing work, they may feel like, oh, people are going to be upset with me. So it's so anxious that they may not be able to even do their work. Then the next thing is social norms and practices, okay? So sometimes many people with ESD, they have a lot of difficulty understanding the social norms and practices that we have in the different social settings. So very common example will be like greeting. Okay, so I believe if you have children with ASD, you may have seen that it's very hard to get them to greet. Hi, can you mute yeah, thank you. So why this is difficult? Why greeting can be difficult? Because greeting may not be so meaningful for them. Yeah, so then they may not understand the meaning of greeting. Then in this case, then it's very hard for them to even practice it. Yeah, so that will, I believe you have seen many other norms that it will be hard for them. Another example will be like, for example, I hear parents saying like, there's a teenager where if the parents give or anyone give him something, he may, if he's drinking, he will take his time to finish his drink before taking over the item. Okay. I would like to see a show of hand if your child or the children that you work with that face this issue. Can you all maybe make a show of hand? Let me see if you encounter these in your practice or with your children. Okay, I see some hands. Okay, so this is quite common. So and this is part of the social norms and practices that they may have difficulty. Okay, so what happens if they have difficulty in this area? They actually can learn quite well. So by teaching them some of the norms and practices, sometimes they may be able to pick up some of these practices. Later, I can share with you what are the strategies to help them pick up. Okay, now I come to common occurrences. Okay, common occurrences means like usually what may happen in the society or in our day-to-day life. For example, like Wi-Fi breaking down. Okay, so like sometimes once in a while, of every few months, sometimes the Wi-Fi may break down. Okay, but for people with VSD, sometimes for people with VSD, they may not be aware or expect that this may happen. Okay, so if they may not be aware or it may not occur to them that this may happen, then whenever Wi-Fi break down, then sometimes they will have lash out. Or another very common example would be having relief teacher. Okay, so for some of them, the younger ones, they may not even be aware about how teachers may fall sick and may not be able to come for the lesson. So for them, what happened is in their mind, they could be thinking like, okay, every science lesson, I'm expected to see the science teacher. Okay, so anytime when the science teacher is not here, then it actually is very different from their expectation. And when it's very different, then sometimes they will have a lot of difficulty coping, and you may see some anxiety behavior or sometimes even leading to lash out. Lash out again is quite common whenever there's relief teacher. Again, can I see a show of hand for children for your children or for the children that you support, okay, that have issues with relief teacher? Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I saw some hands as well. Okay. So again, later I'll share some strategies on how to work on this. Lastly, I would like to talk about the social expectation versus logical thinking. So for most people with ASD, they tend to think in a logical way, okay, very black and white, and what's wrong and right and wrong. Okay, but in the society, when we are in the society, we all know that it may not be so helpful to always think about logic thinking. Many times it's about social expectation, right? Like when we go out or when we are in the class, okay, in the classroom, it's mainly about like what we do whether people will be upset or not, whether people will be happy with what we do. But for people with ASD, they tend to think in terms of right and wrong. Okay, so for example, a very common one again is like grammar mistake. So if people with, if let's say the teacher or any classmate make any grammar mistake, then people with ASD sometimes will be very upset or they feel very uncomfortable with it because it's wrong to them. Yeah. So when they feel that it's wrong, sometimes they may show some inappropriate social behavior by like shouting out and correcting the teacher or the classmate, like, oh no, you shouldn't be saying this, or you should have added s to this word. Okay. So in this case, then sometimes it will make others unhappy or it may offend people. Yeah. Where else is usually people with ASD, most of the time, they have difficulty understanding that in social setting is more, we think more in terms of social expectations, like, oh, if I say this, will people be upset with me? Yeah. So now I'm going to now move on to the strategies. Okay. Okay. The first strategy that I will be sharing today is this is quite simple to do. Okay. This is mainly about listing expectation in a visual form. All right. So I want to highlight the visual part. Visual is very helpful for people with ASD because people with ASD has difficulty in auditory processing. Okay, so what does this mean is auditory processing doesn't mean they have problem with listening, not hearing problem. It's just that whenever there's verbal information that comes in, it's hard for them to process in their mind. Okay, so sometimes what happen will be it may end up bits and pieces and they may not get the main point. So whenever we want to do any teaching, it'll be good to present in a visual form. Okay, so for example, if they tend to have more behaviors or issues or inappropriate behaviors in certain contexts, okay, it will be good to write down a list of expectation in that context for the child to know. So for example, let's say if a child always ask a lot of questions, like maybe 10 questions in one lesson, okay? And may not show appropriate behavior during teaching. More likely for this example will be a younger child, right? Then what we can do is we can list the expectation very clearly. Like for example, when the teacher is teaching, I listen first. I only ask any question after the teacher has finished teaching. So this will be made very clear and explicitly on what the child can do. And if the child like tends to be fidgety and moving a lot and may disturb the peers, then we may want to highlight this point. What is good listening? Good listening means sit push in, mouth quiet, feet quiet, hands on the table. Okay. Then, for example, if a child tend to ask a lot of questions excessively and disturb the lesson, what we can do is we can use quantity to teach the child what is too much and how much is appropriate. Because sometimes if we say, oh, you're asking too many questions, ask less questions. If we say in this way, it will be not very clear for the child. The child may be feeling like, no, I think I'm just asking the correct amount because the teacher asked questions, so it's okay for me to answer all the time. Okay, so then to make it very clear, to make the expectation very clear is good to use quantity, which is numbers. Okay, so for example, in this case, I will tell the child, in a lesson, it's fair to give others a chance to ask questions. So to be fair, everyone can ask up to 2 questions in a lesson. So when you say 2, then the child can count very easily. Like, oh, okay, I've asked 2. Okay, so anything more than that, then is considered too much. Okay, so quantity, it will be helpful in this case. All right. Now I'm going to move to another strategy, which is social story. Okay, so social story is a method created by Carol Gray. Okay, it's mainly about writing a short description or a story about what to expect in the social situation and what may be expected of the child. One thing to note is social story is about providing information about the social world and is not about instructing the child what they should do. So if you can recall at the beginning of my talk just now, I was sharing about some of the difficulties people with ASD have, right? Like, for example, they have difficulties with the common occurrence, like, teacher may fall sick, then you may have to expect to have relief teacher. Okay, so this kind of information is many people with ASD, many children with ASD may not be aware of, or it may not occur to them, and we can use social story to teach them this information about the world. Okay, but it's not about instructing the child what to do. So, for example, what instructing the child what to do means like you should do this, you should do that. All right. So, how is social story useful? It helps to address their difficulties listed here in this slide. And as you can see, these difficulties are what I covered initially at the beginning of the talk. And I'm going to share with you more details. How can we address these needs? Okay, so let's look at one example of a social story. This social story is a social story I've written for an upper primary children, upper primary child. Okay, so I particularly picked this story about making mistake because this is a common difficulty for people with ASD. Okay, regardless of age, like young to teenage, or even the adults. So how it goes is we start off with the title. Okay, making mistakes happens to everyone. Then we have the initial statement, the background, what is it about? Okay, now I'm going to, I would like us to walk through together, okay, to see how we can address the needs using this social story. Okay, now, for the first two statements, for the first two paragraphs, everyone make mistakes sometimes. All students may sometimes write the wrong answers in their schoolwork. They may say the wrong answers when their teachers ask them questions. I would like you to look at the table on the right to see these two paragraphs. What are we addressing? What are we teaching the child with ASD for these two paragraphs? Can you like either type in your chat or you can unmute and shout out the answer? Anyone? Let's try. I like to do practices in my talk because the more we practice, then the easier the more it will be, the easier it will be for you to practice later on the strategy. Yeah, I see answers in the chat already. Yes, number one, okay. These two paragraphs help child with ASD to know what to expect, okay, and in the social situation, and to know the common occurrence, okay, and social norms. Yeah. Okay, how about the second one? It's normal for everyone to make mistake. So most of us will not mind if others make mistake. What are we addressing here?
Yeah, you can have a lot of time to chip in your answer because I think that we have ample time for you to ask questions, ample time for you to give your answer. So take your time. Yeah.
Yes, I see a lot of answer in the chat. Okay, yes, perspective taking, very good. Yes, number 5. Okay. Number 5, yeah, correct. So now, let's go to the next paragraph. Making mistake may even be something good. Making mistake may mean we are learning something new, okay? And we will likely not make mistake if we are doing very simple thing like ABC, okay? By the way, why I put this ABC is because I want to make it very distinct, very different for the child to see how, like, if we really learn very easy things, it's not going to be helpful, okay? That's why I use this example. So what do you think? This paragraph, this blue highlighted area, what are we addressing? Yeah, I'll wait for your answers. I see one answer came out already.
Sarah
Yes.
and Namsiu selected 3. Kathy selected 2 as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, thanks for all your participation. Yes, mainly is number 3, okay? And 4 as well. So is to help children cope and adjust to change, teach appropriate behaviors and social skills, okay? Or teach different skills. All right. Lastly, it's okay to make mistakes sometimes. What do you think it address?
Harry say 1.
Ah,
Chiu say 4. Ifan say 1.
okay. Yeah, 1, 2, okay. One may be relevant also. So it also helps to address 4, teach appropriate behaviors and social skills. All right. So, and basically the last statement, usually I write it, we want to end with a positive note. And if you look at the whole story, okay, can you tell me how many statements is made on instructing the child what to do? Can you look at the social story now and look and count how many statements here are on teaching the child what to do, like instructing the child what to do? Zero? Okay. Okay, yes. Okay, so as you can see, social story is mainly again about giving information about the world. Okay, not telling the child what you should do. But sometimes we can still add in like 1 or 2 statements about telling what the child should do. Usually, if you want to put in the instructions statement, we can put it at the end of the paragraph. Okay, at the end of the story. All right, so now let's move on. Just now I shared about the social story that I've written. For this, I wrote for upper primary child, okay? Now I want to share this social story that I wrote for a teenager, 15-year-old, okay? Who is doing very well in his academics, okay? So you can see, and it's on the same topic about making mistake. And as you can see, the language I use is very different. Okay, so if for upper primary children, my story is usually shorter and I use simpler words. Okay, for the older ones, then I will use maybe I will write it in a more scientific way or more technical way. For this student, usually I customize it according to the child's profile and preference and learning style as well. So for this teenager, he's more into science, okay? And if I do something like this, likely he may think that, oh, are you saying I'm stupid? Why are you doing something so childish? Okay, so if you have concern about the older ones, okay, for them, whether they will reject the story, you can put it in this way. As you can see, I make it very technical, and even my title is very technical. I wrote human error. So then I highlighted again, you can see percentage, I use quantity. Okay, so humans have slightly error when they do familiar or easy tasks, but higher error when they do less familiar tasks. Okay, then to highlight that, there's no way that we can have 100% accuracy. But as you can see, the content is almost the same. It's just how I present it for different age group, different profile, different learning style. Yeah. So now I would like to practice together now with all of us, okay, on how to write social story. Writing social story may not be easy. It can be difficult, especially for if you are starting at the beginning. And I would like to walk you through on the language to use, okay, with social story. I want to highlight one thing. If you notice, my social story always start with like general terms. Like I talk about all students, I never use first or second person language. Okay, I never say I or you. I never say like, oh, you write the wrong, you may write wrong answer or right answer sometimes. So I always use all student, everyone. Why I do that? Because I want to teach information about the world. All right. So then also another thing is, if we use very generic terms, then the child usually is more receptive. If we use like first person language, the child may feel like you are targeted at him. Then the child may feel very personal about it, and sometimes they may reject the information. Okay, so what we want to make it very general, very generic. Okay, now let's practice example that we are going to write this social story for a primary 2 child. Okay, let's say 8 years old. And let's say his difficulty is he's afraid to answer questions from teachers and scared of giving the wrong answer, scared that teachers will be upset with him if he make any mistake. Then sometimes he may even be so scared that he's afraid to do work, okay, just so that he wouldn't make any mistake. Okay, so let's walk through together. First statement, as you can see, this story is very short. Why again is for primary 2, okay? So all of us need to talk to people or do work. When talking to people or doing works, everyone may make mistakes sometimes. Now, let's say second statement, I want to teach the child about common occurrence, okay? When talking to teacher, which is common to make mistake, right? How would you phrase this in this story for the primary 2 child? So I would like you to type out in the chat. Okay, or if you want, you can unmute and shout out the answer. How would you phrase to teach the child about common occurrence about making mistake when talking to teacher? I saw one question in chat. I'll answer it later, okay? At the end of all my sharing.
Anybody have any thoughts? You can type out in the chat as well.
I'll give you a bit more time because it takes some time to phrase the statement. I would like you to try. Thanks, Carrie.
Harry says that it's also the same when we talk with teachers whom we face in school. That's her answer.
Okay, thank you. Any more? Let's wait maybe for some more answers to come in. For example, we may pronounce something wrongly or stumble over our words, okay?
Wei Yang says it's a common occurrence to make mistakes when talking to teachers in school as well. BP Lau say mistakes are proof that you are learning.
Okay. Okay, maybe we wait for one more answer. Thanks for the participation. Okay, then I can give you some feedback. And from the feedback, then that's where you can learn like, how you can phrase the social story. Okay, maybe I see one more. Yes, thank you. So wrong answers may be given when teacher asks questions. Okay, some more. I saw Chu TC say sometimes mistake happen when talking to teacher. Okay, I like that. Pat Fong say everybody needs to talk to teacher sometimes or another, and it is quite common for most people to make mistakes when doing so. Very good. Yeah. All students may sometimes, the answer coming in.
You want?
Sorry, is that also? Okay, yeah, okay, now, so I'll share with you. Thanks again for all the answers coming in, okay? I really like how you try out. Again, as you try, you can see that it gets you to process how you are going to phrase the statement, all right? So I would put the answer here as it's common or most people will make mistake when talking to teachers. Okay, I will put it here. And I see some of you wrote similar to that as well. So I really like again, like the answers where you highlight about all students, everybody, most people. Okay, so remember to try to use these terms to start off. Again, avoid talking about I or you, or for example, like it's common that you may make mistake with teachers. Okay, so in this way, the child usually may not accept. The child may feel like, are you saying that I'm wrong? Are you saying that I'm not good enough? Yeah. So, but when we say all students, everyone, then the child may see that, okay, it happens to everyone. Oh, by the way, most of the time before I start writing social stories with the child, I will ask the child, do you think other people make mistake? Or do you think Miss Cindy make mistake? Many times they say no, they don't think others make mistake. Okay, so people with ASD sometimes that's the common occurrence also, right? So people with ASD, they may not it may not occur to them that others may be facing the same thing. For them, when they make mistake, to them is, I'm the only one who did this and I'm so lousy. This is also one of the reasons why we can see many people with ASD with low self-esteem. Okay, because they sometimes think that this could be only happening to me. Yeah. So usually I may want to ask this question first. Do you think others make mistake as well? If they say no, then you know, oh, this area is something that I really must teach them and work with them on it. But if they say yes, then you know, oh, okay, they understand this. Then you may not need to spend too much time on the teaching. Okay, so this is also how you can assess and evaluate what kind of strategies to focus on. So then I want to go to the next statement. If you want to teach perspective taking, how the teacher may think or feel when students make mistake. Can you try writing in the chat? How would you phrase this statement to teach perspective taking to your child?
Let's all try. Yeah, Alice said teachers would be happy that you are responding and trying your best, right? Carrie said teachers are here to guide you even when we do not give the right answers. That's nice. Yep, ST said teachers feel it is normal for students to make mistakes because they are still learning. Geraldine said good try. Marita said teachers is happy that you tried your best and I'm here to help you. That's nice. Wei Yang say, when students say something wrong to the teacher usually feel like they want to help the student. Shuti say, teacher like to hear from us. Right? All these are good answers.
Yeah. And thanks so much for all the participation. It's really good. I really like all the participation.
Teacher is happy to see everyone trying. Everyone to help one another. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
nice. Yeah. Okay, very good. I like how many of you have hit the main point, which is highlight the emotion of the teacher. So remember, if you are talking about perspective taking, you want to highlight the teacher's thoughts or the emotion. Okay, because perspective taking is mainly about what people think and feel. Okay, so I would like to give you some examples of people with ASD that I work with, the answers they share. So I say like, oh, what do you think your teacher may think if you make mistakes? Sometimes they will say, teacher will think I'm lousy, or they will say, oh, teacher will think, will hate me. Sometimes the hate word I hear very frequently. Why? Because a lot of time they have difficulties with understanding how people feel, okay? And also again, they may not understand the social norms, like how the norms may feel and think. So in this case, we want to highlight very clearly, okay, on what people may feel and think. And given that this is a story for a very young child, we will want to even highlight very clearly, okay, on this feeling and thinking. Like for example, where Ifan wrote about teacher is happy to see everyone trying. Okay, I like that. It is very simple for this primary 2 child to understand. Okay, so lastly, we can all try to talk to others and do our work. It's okay to make mistake. All right, so that will be the whole story for this primary 2 child. First of all, I want everyone maybe to give yourself a clap because your participation is really good, and I really like the answers that all of you give. Okay, because this is your first attempt. It's not easy. Okay, and I really like how close you all try to do to address the needs of the child. So now, as you can see, again, if you compare all the 3 stories, you can see actually how we can tweak, okay? Again, the language, the length of the story to the profile. Now, if, for example, you don't have time to write the whole story for the child, okay? What you can do is, sometimes what I do if I don't have the time to write the whole story, you know, maybe then and then the child is telling me something that I feel, hey, the child may be ready to learn at the time. What I do is I will just give that statement, okay, to the child. For example, the child who, let's say, happen to say that, oh, teachers shouldn't the teachers should be always there whenever it's science lesson, for example, then I may want to give a statement like, oh, actually, all human beings may fall sick. Sometimes when they fall sick, then they have to take MC, and then there will be relief teacher, okay, for in the school setting. Yeah, so sometimes I may just pick up the statement, okay, to just address then. All right, so I want to share also some difficulties that parents face. Okay, parents always I hear a lot of parents will tell me like, oh, whenever my child have some rigid perspective, they think in this way. When I tell them the alternative thought, they never listen. Okay, I believe this is quite common for many parents here. So then, when do we do teaching? Okay, so teaching actually is very important to take note of the time and place as well. Okay, so usually it will be best, most ideal to teach the child, like for example, go through social story or do this statement thing when the child is calm and ready to learn. Okay, and it's best not to teach these strategies or work on these strategies in the exact moment when the child is having the issue or having the situation or having the incident. So for example, like let's say today the child go to school and found that, oh, today is relief teacher, and the child is very upset and then break down and lash out. If you then you take the social story and show the child may not have capacity to learn at that time, and likely the child will reject the social story and say, no, the science teacher is supposed to be here. Okay, so usually what I would, to make it simply, okay, when do you apply the strategies? You can look at two timing. One is emotional time versus, usually the child may have emotional time versus calm times, okay? Emotional times means they are reacting from the issue, the incident. Usually, teaching during this time is not ideal. They may not be able to accept much reasoning, and likely they will insist on their rigid thinking. Okay, so usually if they are having emotional issues or emotional time at the moment, I will want to address more on the emotions. Okay, like for example, like, oh, I think you are really stressed now. I think you are really anxious now. Let's take some rest. Okay, just that will be enough. Okay, to let them know, oh, the moment I'm anxious, I just rest. It's okay. I don't need to think about this now. But if you want to work on reasoning, then you look at the calm times when the child is ready to learn. All right. Yeah. And then I want to address one of the relevant question that one of the I think Wei Yang, right? One of the participants asked, okay? So Wei Yang asked, have any students ever questioned back that some of their classmates can get 90% or more in tests? Yes, some of them may question this. So how I answer is, I will talk about the norms. I say, yeah, sometimes what I'm sharing with you, it may not be 100% anyway. Okay. So, but what we want to learn is about what is the norm, and norm means 80% of the time. So 80% of the time, this is what happened. All right. Then sometimes, yeah, it could go, the figure may change for 10% of 10 to 20% of the time. All right. So, well, yeah, you let me know whether I answer your question. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay. Thank you, Wei Yang, for your response. Now, to write a social story, I have if you can see this slide, this is the structure I'm sharing here to guide you to write your own social story. Okay, so if you are keen to write social story for your child or for your for the child you work with, you can maybe follow this guide. Okay, so to get the structure on how you can write. Yeah. Then lastly, okay, to wrap out, I would like to have a mini quiz to recap what we have learned today. Okay, so first of all, strategies may be more effective if presented in the what form? Very good. I see the answer very fast. Yes, visual form. Yay, very good. Okay, now next.
It says story form.
Also can, because story will be visual. Okay, yeah. So when a child with ASD shows a behavior excessively, how can we inform our expectation clearly? What is that strategy to make our expectations clear? Yes, okay, in numbers, okay? Or using quantity. So instead of saying, oh, it's too much, it's too many, or it's too loud, we say we use numbers. Okay, so for volume, okay, for if you are talking about too loud, then I usually will use volume meter. I will say level 1 to 5. 5 is very loud and 1 is very soft. So then let's say they keep talking very loud. Then I say, oh, I hear that you are speaking at level 4. Okay, yeah. Then in that way, they will be clear that, oh, that means they are a bit too loud. Okay, very good. Now, Wing is upset whenever there's a relief teacher. What are some of the underlying reasons that make it difficult for him? Reason or reasons, okay? Can be one or many. That make it difficult for him to cope with the relief teacher. A, B, or C? Or more? Very good, yes. It's mainly his expectation, okay? He expects that, oh, every science lesson I'm expecting to see the science teacher. So anytime when the science teacher didn't come out, then it becomes a shock and it can be upsetting to them sometimes. Okay? And again, just now we talk about social story. So social story also helps to manage the expectation. When a child with ASD is fixated on their perspective, when is a good time to teach them other perspective or social norms? A or B? Yes, very good. Okay. So that's the emotional time and the calm time. Okay. So we only do teaching when the child is calm and ready for learning. If a child has difficulty understanding what to expect in particular social situation, what strategy can we use to teach social norms and practices? There's actually quite a number of strategies, but like what I share in this talk today, what will be the strategy? Yes, very good. Social story. Okay, again, good job, everyone. Okay, and thanks for your participation. Yeah, so nice. Okay, now I come to the end of what I'm going to share, but I saw a question just now. Let me go back to it and answer the question. Okay, hold on. Carol wrote, what if our child likes to be funny with words like poop or that, and often say it and tease people or laugh about it? Okay, now this is very common, okay, and regardless of age also, but especially the younger ones, right? I believe your child could be younger. So then what can we do? So first of all, before we talk about strategy, we look at the needs, okay? Why do you think the child does this behavior? Maybe would you want to have a think about it? Have a thought about it? Like, what do you think the child may sometimes say funny words and keep laughing about it? And no matter how, whenever you keep to tell him to stop, he may not stop and he keep laughing and may revisit this over and over again. Do you want to guess? Any guesses? Why the child may do that? Okay, so maybe I can quickly share here. Oh, yes, I saw one. Some answers. So like get attention, want attention or play from friends. They think it's funny and get a reaction. Yeah. Many times it could be these kind of reasons. Yes. Like our reaction. Yes. Okay, so I would like to go back for this question. I would like to go back to the core difficulties for people with ASD. I believe many of you may know the core difficulties for people with ASD is social interaction and communication, okay, and inflexibility in thoughts and behavior. Okay, so this issue is likely due to more of these difficulties in social interaction and communication. So for example, they want to play, they want to interact with people, but they don't know how. Okay, so sometimes then they may think it in their own way. Let's say they find this word funny, then they may just keep doing this and thought that this could be funny also. Yeah, so it could be an attempt to interact with people, but they may not know exactly how to interact. And also agree also, like sometimes they do it because they like our reaction and they want our attention. So that's part also about soliciting in attention. They want to have interaction with people. Okay, so then what can we do in this case is it will be good to teach them other ways of interacting. Okay, so for example, and also minimize attention to this behavior. So let's say they say poop, poop, then they look at you. What you want to do is you sometimes, just give a straight face. You don't have to scold them, don't need to be fierce, because sometimes if we scold them or be fierce, even putting too much attention on it, we don't want too much attention on it. Okay, yeah. So we don't want too much attention on this behavior, so we don't want to scold or shout at them also. So what we want to do is what we can do is we can just give a straight face and we can quickly move on to talk about other more interesting thing to interact on. Okay, so what we want is from here, as I shared the difficulties just now, as you can see, their way to interact is very limited. Okay, so what we want in general is to expand their skills on interaction. So the more they know how to interact with people, then likely this behavior may reduce. But the expanding skills to interact needs a longer time. So you may not see like immediate effect or within short time. Okay, so this is like a long-term thing to build on.
I think we have a question from Tian Jie. He says,
Mm.
wondering, may I know how do you usually conduct a social story session?
Mm.
If it is all words, I'm not sure if
Mm.
the will process this information.
Mm. Okay, yeah, very good question. Now, first of all, usually if I do it in my therapy session, what I do is, again, like it will be good if the child is ready to learn. So means sitting down, ready to listen, because there's a lot of information in the social story. So you want to get the child ready. Okay, not ideal. Like for example, if the child is playing halfway on their phone or on their toys, then you show them the story. It may not be ideal. Okay, so it would be ideal to get them seated. It can start with chit chat, or you can even start with game first. You can play game with them to get them settled in that setting. Then you can show the social story. So I recommend that you write the social story first, okay? Then you show the child. So when you show the child, it's already the completed version. Yeah, so don't like write together, especially for young children, because they may not have the patience to sit through with you to write together. And again, social story is not about getting the child to write the story. Okay, so because we want to teach, social story is about teaching information about the world. So this is not possible to get the child to write. Okay, and it's going to get the child very frustrated. Yeah. Then your second part of the question is, if it's all in words, I'm not sure if the child will be able to process this information. Very good question also. I like how you ask this, because when you ask this, then back in your mind, you may be clear that your child may have difficulty going through all these. So if you are clear that the child may not be able to go through all these information, then what you can do is you think of the level that your child may be able to process. So maybe, for example, shorter paragraph, okay? And maybe with some pictures. So for the lower primary one, I always add in pictures at the end of the picture, okay? And at the end of the story. And sometimes I even get them to choose the picture on their own. So like I already have the type story on my laptop or my computer. Then I get them to sit together, we read together. Then after that, at the end, I say, oh, let's find a picture on making mistake. Or let's find a picture of the teacher being happy when you work with the teacher. Yeah, so then when we find pictures together, the child may feel happier and more engaged in and more involved in this activity.
Right. Let's just take one more question, Cindy.
Okay. All right. Okay, does it mean try to distract them when we do not want them to say some funny words repeatedly? Okay. So this one, it will be continuation of the previous question that I answered. Okay. So again, to on the question, what Carrie asked is, from my explanation, does it mean that we just distract them? Yeah. Does it mean that we just distract them and we do not want them to say some funny words? Yes, to a certain extent. Yeah, so we just move on. Means we don't want to stay on that area too long. Usually, if they have any inappropriate behavior, we want to do teaching, but only maybe one time or two times. We don't want to do too much teaching. So for example, once we have done one teaching one time, usually what I do is I will check back with the child to see whether he understand what I have taught. Okay, so how to check is I will ask question, okay, from the social story. So I will ask like, do you think other people make mistake as well? Do you think other students make mistake? How will the teacher feel if you make mistake? So if they can say the answers from the social story that you have written, then I will establish that the child understand what you mean. Then I will not do any more teaching. Okay, so if the child still show the behavior, then I will address it via my response. Like, for example, I move on and I distract and talk about other things. Okay,
One final question. I think that
I know, huh?
very good
Okay.
question. So I want to allow it. Is it common that teens with ASD seems very negative towards the world? What's your short answer, Cindy?
Yeah, sometimes I can see some of them, the older ones, especially those that are doing very well in the academics or high IQ ones, they tend to be quite bitter about the world. Why? Okay, the reason may be very verbal. Okay, it depends on many factors like family background, the friends that they are exposed to, the environment that they are in. Okay, but in general, what I see, it could also be contributed by some of the difficulties that I mentioned at the earlier of my talk, like how they may not understand how the world works, what's the common occurrence. So just to give one example, I have a young adult who share with me like, so he used to be doing very well in his primary school, but after that, as he progressed further in his education, he find that it's not the same anymore. Like he can't get all straight A's anymore. So then he start to think that, maybe because my life is just unlucky. Okay, so because why this reasoning may happen is because he may not understand how the world works, like how as we progress in our education level, things get more difficult, more demanding, and it's normal that most people don't get straight A's anymore when they go to uni, when they go to poly, right, or in any tertiary institution. Yeah, so these sometimes these difficulties may come in that cause some bitterness about the world. Yeah.
Thanks, Cindy.
Mm.
Thanks for the questions. I think that the audience appreciate it. They give comments like, thank you so much for answering the questions. Thank you so much. Okay, so we appreciate Cindy for sharing her thoughts, sharing her experience with us. So I'm going to call next Elise Chu, to come on to talk about her experience as a parent of a child with ASD. So Elise is a foster parent, and she has been attending Origo classes as well, and she has benefited much. But I also know that she also have a lot of experience herself. So maybe I'll pass the time to Elise. Cindy, you want to stop share, and Elise will take over. Hi, Elise.
Hi, I'm Elise. Okay, let me share my slide. Share. Hi, I'm Elise. Okay, I'm a foster mom. My boy is now 9 years old. So what I share is probably of his younger age and maybe to now. Yeah. Okay, okay. So accepting his diagnosis is also not easy for me, but then accepting the child challenges and diagnosis allows me to move forward and explore the resources I need to support him on his journey. At the same time, I quickly connect with and explore options alongside others caregivers. My son is a visual learner, so the whiteboard marker, spectacle cloth, sponge has been incredibly useful for me in several ways. To communicate and give him instructions, to create a task schedule to help him keep track of his activities, to outline the daily routine. At the same time, I may be inconsistent in my instructions, so the whiteboard also serves a helpful tool for me too. All right, I built his interests and strength using resources I have at home to enhance play, motor skills, and learning. This is the first toy I made for him. using cookie containers and mahjong chips. He used this for sorting activities first, picking up chips and placing them into the opening I created. This helped him to develop his motor skill and perspective taking as I rotate the container. I expand his play and learning with the same resources like doing sorting activities and introduce counting using poker cards, either indicating the quantity or matching the cards to the corresponding quantity on a tray. You can use any material you already have or start collecting things like brag tags or bottle caps, which come in different colors. The key is to foster their interest and expand their general knowledge. There is no minimum age or concerns about their diagnosis that should prevent us from providing them with additional knowledge. Doing activities together with him motivates him and he can achieve success. Hand-over-hand guidance help build his confidence and make him secure, knowing that he's not alone and that we are bonding. I don't want to risk rejection before he even has a chance to try it. This approach also helps him understand what is expected and what he needs to do to complete the activity. When he was younger, I was eager for him to become independent. However, I end up spending more time giving him verbal instructions, but didn't achieve the desired result. Then I realized I need to put in more efforts and time working with him, while minimizing verbal instructions as too many steps and words would overwhelm him. We all know that talk is easier than action. So by doing the task with him, I can fine-tune my prompts to better support his success. Breaking down into a smaller scale helps him to stay focused and boost his confidence. Here's an example of a 100-piece puzzle. First, I'll complete the puzzle, then I'll break it into quarter, packing 25 pieces into each bag. Gradually, I'll increase the number of pieces to 2 bags of 50 each, and eventually, he can complete all 100 pieces in one bag. To build his confidence, we need to be clear and explicit when teaching a task or giving an instructions, as there is no assumptions of common sense due to a lack of social understanding. They may not realize that the same skills can apply across different tasks. Their thinking is straightforward and ambiguous. I will avoid telling him don't run or no touching. Instead, I'll tell him walk nicely, slow down. Put your hand down or put your hand behind, don't touch it. By doing so, it's giving and telling him the solution or what he needs to do if he's not allowed to run or touch it. Through this journey, I have learned to view the world from his perspective and adapt to his pace, which is slow. I look forward to collaborations in order to help him bridge the gap between therapists and teacher, ensuring consistency. And I am optimistic that he will reach his milestone and thrive. Here's another example. I hope to inspire caregivers to get creative with activities for their child at home. At the center, he uses colored beads for an activities, while at home, I use chickpea, saga seeds, green and black beans, whatever I have on hand to help him meet his sensory needs. I also replicate the same art and craft activities he does at school at home for more practices. The generous sharings of ideas and techniques by professionals truly help build my confidence in supporting my boy. Every caregiver has their own strength and weakness, and each child is unique. We all have distinct roles in helping our child develop skills and preparing him for the real world that lies ahead. What disheartened me is when I send my boy to therapy sessions and receive feedback I'm already aware of, such as comment about his poor eye contact, but without any strategies to help address it. I often have to clarify that he does maintain acceptable eye contact with familiar people. Another comment I receive is he has short attention span, which already a challenge I'm facing, and I feel I need more practical strategies from professionals to address it. I also feel discouraged when professionals focus on the negative aspects of my efforts and overlook the approach I'm taking. What really helps me was one of his teacher recorded a video demonstrating how she works with him in the class. It was incredibly useful. I could play it for him at home while doing work, and I learned from the language she used. Also, having material from the center or school allows him to make connections, which helps me engage with him more effectively. It's exhausting to constantly think about how and what to do with our child, especially after a long day at work. I'm certain that professionals working with a child have the same goal as we do. I encourage caregivers to be open about the challenges we face, as well as our child's new achievements. I trust they will continue to stay passionate about supporting both us and the children. The knowledge and experience the professionals share with us will go a long way in supporting our children. I don't have prior experience caring for a child with ASD, and I also face my own learning challenges, particularly with retaining information. My son has been my first teacher, and I acquired a wealth of knowledge and skill caring for him. I decided to stop working to care for him full-time, so I could dedicate more time and energy creating customized learning material for him, which has also become a therapeutic activity for me. We as caregivers must be brave and courageous in encouraging our children to explore beyond home and classroom, giving them opportunity to apply what they have learned and what we want them to learn, what we want them to understand. Look for and create opportunity for them to practice their skills. As society moves towards inclusivity, let's not exclude ourselves. This picture was taken during an inclusive coastal cleanup event my husband and I attended with him. It's not always easy, as he is a curious and impulsive child for a new setting. I often tell myself to just do it, knowing I'm not alone on this journey. Socialization is a big topic. Even adults can experience social awkwardness in certain situations, so it's no surprise that they do as well. For me, I'll keep an eye out for free events that we can both attend together, so I can support him and identify areas I need to work on with him. At the same time, I have the opportunity to socialize and learn from other caregivers. Our child doesn't become easier to manage as they get older if we don't start engaging with them as early as possible to build their receptive language. Looking back, I wish I had introduced him to more outdoor play when he was younger. Embrace both our children and ourselves. Don't feel like you are not putting in enough effort. Yeah, that's all I would like to share on my journey with my boy.
Yeah, I mean, Elisa, thank you very much for sharing. I think Wei Yang say thank you for your brave sharing, Elise. I think that's very true. And you're a foster parent, and that takes extra courage, you know. And JL say beautiful sharing, Elise. Such a heartfelt journey. So much love on your part. Very, very true. So that's why I actually invited you to share, Elise, because it is a not easy journey, but it's a journey that you have deliberately decided to take on, right? There's a question for you, Elise. It says, Dear Elizabeth, may I know whether you're homeschooling your child? Is
No,
a better way?
my boys is in a spec school. I don't know. I only help him with on weekends or when he's not in school.
Okay, right. I'm also going to open the question to other people that have any other questions. You can post a question online, or you can shout out your question. Anybody have any questions for Cindy and for Elise?
I saw a question asked in the chat. BL asks whether high functioning kids with ASD, would it be better to homeschool them so that they have less triggers and anxiety, or let them attend mainstream school? Okay, my answer is there's a lot of factors to look at. Okay, it's very variable. It depends on a lot of factors, but in general, I recommend that the child continue to attend mainstream school. Why? Because if they have a lot of trigger in school, okay, and we pull them out, once they finish school, they graduate, it will be very hard for them to go back to community like work. Because in work, there will be even higher demand in social expectations and a lot other expectations. Yeah, so then if we and I would say the school actually is a very good environment to learn about coping, because the schools nowadays I see they really support quite well in Singapore. Yeah, so then with such a good support system, then it would be good to get the child to be exposed and learn coping there. Yeah. So in general, for anxiety, okay, for anxiety management, ideally we want to expose the child, because the more they are being exposed to, then the more they can learn coping there. But if we take them out from the triggers, okay, totally, the moment they go back go back to the demand, then they can't cope again. Yeah. So in general, but definitely will be case by case basis. You have to look at the other factors around. If, for example, like the child really too stressed, really cannot handle anymore, or cannot go to school at all, and no matter how you try, it's very hard to bring the child back, then maybe you can explore the homeschooling option. Right. And also just now, when I talk about anxiety management, it will be good to work on exposure. Again, this is in general and ideal, okay? Again, case to case, some kids, you have to be very gradual and very slow in the exposure. So for this, ideally, it will be good to work with a therapist, okay? To work on the exposure together. Yeah, because sometimes if we over push on the exposure, then it may be too much for them and they may not even be able to move forward, or it may be too traumatic for them. Yeah.
Right. Ifan said, yes, school is a mini social society that one can encounter when they enter adulthood. I think that's very true. That's what Cindy is saying also, right? Anybody have any more questions regarding to both Elise sharing and Cindy's sharing? You want to shout out, or do you want to just type it in? You're welcome. Everybody comfortable? Okay. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Cindy, for
you.
taking the time. I think Elise, a special shout out to you. Really, 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 Lamartis say, I admire how innovative you are in making materials to assist him in learning. Right. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Do the traits of an ASD child become better over time? Cindy, are you still around? You want to take the question before we leave?
Yes, I'm here.
Yep.
Hey, do the traits become better over time? It's very variable, again, depends on a lot of factors. Okay, like family background again, the exposure, the environment the child is in, and also like profile, and also whether with intervention or not, no intervention. Okay, so in general, okay, if I look in general, I have worked with quite a number of children from very young to like their young adulthood. Okay, so over like 10 over years, what I see is if with intervention, okay, and also the collective effort from parents, the involvement of parents to practice, to work on the skills, there's very good potential to move progress in life. So for example, I have quite a number of children with very high anxiety when they were younger. Okay, and even when they grew older, they have a lot of anxiety in adulthood, but eventually they can get employment and sustain employment also, like continue working for a few years, which is great. Yeah. Not sure if I answer your question. And also maybe I want to share a bit, like sometimes you may see, like just now, one of the question I answer about the seeking attention behavior, like keep saying inappropriate words over and over again, they find it funny. Sometimes we see this behavior changing over time also. So they may move on and you may not see this behavior after some time. Yeah. Okay, so there's another question. How can I motivate my P6 girl, ASD level 1 for PSLE? She's in mainstream education. By the way, maybe I share some info. I clarify what is level 1. So in ASD diagnosis, the new diagnosis, we have 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so level 1 means needing least support. Level 3 means needing more support. Okay, so for how to motivate? Okay, again, this one, it will depends on how the child is. We have to look at the child profile. But in general, okay, let's say if the child, first of all, it will be good to look at the child's needs. Okay, so if the child have a lot of difficulty studying, okay, or issues with studying, then or academics, you can look at whether it's anxiety or motivation. Okay, a lot of time I see actually is due to anxiety. So then they have a lot of avoidance. They may not want to attempt difficult work, or the moment they see difficult work, they shut down. So if it's anxiety, then you have to manage in the anxiety way. It will be good to maybe work with a therapist, okay, to learn how to manage the anxiety so that they can continue to confront their fears. I see a lot of people with ASD having anxiety is actually very common for people with ASD. Yeah, and I see a lot of people with ASD, actually, they are very motivated in life. They are very motivated to do well. Why? Likely because of also the absolute thinking. Okay, like doing well is good, so I have to do well all the time. So sometimes it could be more on the extreme end, yeah, which also cause anxiety. Then let me know if I answer your question, okay? Next one. Let me see. Okay, next question is, my child has ASD level 2, high functioning, and entering grade 7 soon. Okay. Then another question, do you think international school with smaller class size are better equipped to support ASD kids versus local school? It depends. I'm not sure. Are you asking in the Singapore context or overseas? Yeah. So if we look at in general, okay, in general, it depends on, again, the child learning needs. Usually, in general, people with ASD, it's better to learn in a smaller class size. Why? Because sometimes in a bigger class size, there will be more stimulus happening. Then sometimes if they have sensory issues, then there may be more things that may overwhelm them and distract them from their learning. Yeah, so it may be harder to cope. So with a smaller class size, then it may be easier for less stimulus for them to deal with, and the teacher can pay more attention to their needs. Okay. And please let me know if I didn't answer your question, okay? Then you can let me know your doubt further.
Yeah. One last question before we end today. VL says, do you think international schools with smaller class size are better equipped to support ASD kids than local students, local schools?
Yeah, I have answered that about in general, smaller class size may be better. Okay, like for example, Pathlight, generally their class size is about 10. Okay, yeah, versus the mainstream school, which is about 30 to 40 students in the class. So for international school, it really depends on which international school to look at. But yes, in general, smaller class size may be better. But again, not for all profile. Okay, so you still have to look at case-to-case basis. I have seen people with ASD who cope okay in the mainstream school setting with 30 to 40 students.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you so much. I think that we've exhausted all the questions and we have exhausted Cindy as well. Okay. Thank you so much for attending and for staying behind to listen to the questions. I really, really appreciate it. Okay. Last question from Joanne. Where is Origo located? Origo is located in Singapore. Are you going to put up a branch here? Unfortunately, no, but e-courses are going to go there. Okay. As a parent with ASD kid, I think I can help. Yes, we want to help you to help as well. Okay. So, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your time. And thank you for your questions. Thank you for your answers. And thank you for your patience. Okay. So, good night to everybody. Wish you all the best and have a good dinner if you have not got one. If you've got dinner, have a good time with your children before they sleep. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye-bye all.